If you are writing an entertaining novel, then you are wasting your time and moving us further away from a literary renaissance because I believe in you as an author. I believe in society as a collective to be able to wake up and become something better than we are right now. And I understand that writing exploitative fiction is the easy way out, that working on people's dopamine systems is a great way to get readers and get money, and it's a much easier path to becoming a writer than the other road. And the other road is writing an entertaining and transformative novel at once. And I want to talk about transformative novels and transformative art really fast because there are different types. For instance, there are shows like Dragon Ball Z for people who are at the start of their journey. Maybe they are kids or are adults. And when they get exposed to low level pieces of transformative art, which serve as gatekeepers, they get sent down a road of personal transformation. But now millions of such pieces of art exist, and Hollywood and the major publishing industries and even AI have cracked the code on how to create those. And so high level transformative art is something that not every person who reads is going to be transformed with, but a high percentage of people who consume it are going to be shattered. They're going to be mind blown. They're going to say to their friends, "Oh my God, dude, I just read something insane." They're going to be thinking about it at work, and it's going to create maybe a big shift or just a small shift that may have to churn the soul in the reader. And I can't control what you do as an author. But right now, we are doubling down on exploitative fiction as an industry. If you go and look at Barnes and Noble, if you go look at Walmart or Costco, more books are being sold, but less and less transformative books are being sold. And so I want to ask you right now, why do you not believe in your own writing? Why do you not believe in changing the inner alchemy of your soul so that you can do it for others? Because the origin of storytelling, if you look at the Iliad and all the folklore stories, is transformation. There are morals and lessons embedded in all of it. So much so that many of us have to return to the classics because they understood the harmony of entertainment and transformation. And so a novel is the most beautiful weapon in the world or the most beautiful healing device in the world. And when you sit down and corrupt that, which is 100% you're right, then you are just filling up space. You are wasting our time. You are wasting your ability because unfortunately, 200 years from now, even 50 years after your death, no one is probably going to be talking about you. Even if you become a full-time author, you are most likely going to be forgotten. But if you write something transformative, the inner positive ripples or even negative ripples that you create in others and the actions that they take out in the world, those are going to continue forever. The amount of conscious ripples being produced when someone sits down and watches a show like Daredevil or reads a series like A Court of Thorn and Roses are very small. 30 million people can sit down and read Sarah J. Maas's series, but how would the Western world look different if 30 million people read a transformative novel by a modern, let's say even female author that was a fantasy, that shattered 50% of the people who read it? And the reason we don't have these types of books is because authors do not believe in themselves anymore. Because to be able to write something like that requires you to dedicate your entire life to the craft. Because if you and I wanted to sit down and write a good exploitative novel right now, it would probably take us 2,000 hours at most. And if we got a nice editor, it would be fine. They would clean up some of the stuff. And all we would have to do is follow the principles, follow the rule books laid out. But as I've discussed before, many of the novels behind me that are transformative at that high level took anywhere from 3 to 10,000 hours to revise. And I love when people say they didn't spend 10,000 hours revising. And see, this is where our belief in ourselves has been shattered because 10,000 hours is 5 or 6 hours a day for 5 years. And with everyone's fake ADHD and social anxiety and excuses, sitting down and dedicating yourself to something for 5 or 6 hours a day seems impossible, otherworldly, like it could never happen in the history of existence. But people who take their job seriously, I mean, people work 5 or 6 hours a day at their job, but that's just step one. That's kind of the easy part. But when you look at a novel, for instance, I just pulled this off my shelf, The Decay of the Angel by Yukio Mishima, which is a transformative novel. Mishima just didn't, he sat down and wrote this, and it took him a ton of time to write it. But it was also his entire life leading up to this, which gave him the ability to do this, centering his entire life around his art, reading and living the life of an artist and being extreme, being irrational. And that's what a lot of people also don't understand. To write something transformative means that you're going to have to get off of Reddit. You're going to have to stop having standardized opinions about things and let yourself feel what you want to feel and say what you want to say. And understand that all the normies, all the people who are existing within the lines and being good little boys and good little girls aren't going to necessarily understand that. But they aren't going to be the ones reading your novel at the start anyway, because many of them haven't even engaged in the initial transformative experiences, whether in real life or in art. But in just America alone right now, there are tens of millions of people who have the ability and the openness to read a transformative piece of literature. Our job as a collective, as the literary renaissance, is to get that book somehow in their hands and make them and prime them enough to believe that they need to read it. And that isn't impossible, because those people read all the time. But it's got to be bigger than it's just sitting on a shelf. It's got to be bigger than even word of mouth. If we are going to create a literary renaissance, at the top of the pyramid, there are going to be a selection of books. We could, I don't know how many, 10 to 25 books that everyone's going to be buzzing about. That every single year, a couple books people are just going to be talking about. Imagine if a transformative novel had 10% of the hype of Twilight or the Harry Potter series. And a good example of that is Dune. Dune is a transformative series of novels, and it has been revived, and it is entertaining and transformative. And I know so many students, so many kids who I teach are reading through that series right now, and all of them don't stop. All of them at least make it to God Emperor. And so I think people who just want to write entertaining novels are just being lazy, or they are just 100% scared of their abilities. Because I love the people who just say, why can't we just tell good stories? You're trying to create a crisis, Ian, by saying we need to write something transformative. The world's fine. But our job as artists is not to listen to the little order followers, to listen to the people who've bought into consensual reality, who can't even feel and see and understand the darkness and crappiness of our world, even if it's gotten better, and who also don't see our opportunity now with scalable digital media to be able to transform other people, so that as AI starts to consolidate power and create better weapons, we are equipped with a better system of morality and other things in our soul to be able to handle that. Because right now, the stakes are getting higher, and our intellect and our emotional ability is declining because of technology. And that's why analog books, which is crazy, books are analog, everybody. You can obviously buy an ebook, but what makes books so amazing is that you hold them. And this is, for many people, one of the few experiences that is analog in their life, other than obviously like playing sports. But playing sports only goes so far in terms of transformation. In sports, we can learn about how to work hard and set goals and stay focused and stick to something and work with others and not be a jerk when we lose. Hopefully we learn all that. And with things we do with our hands, like craft projects and stuff, those build the soul. Think of Freemasonry and Carl Jung and Cormac McCarthy and Robinson Jeffers being spiritual stonemasons, like literal stonemasons. That's a real thing, but it's a slow practice. It's a contemplative practice, but to be able to soar into the heights requires you to be still. And the same is true with music, because if I sit down right now and I just play some transformative music as I'm creating the thumbnail for this video, it's not going to transform me. The only way it's going to transform me is if I actually listen to it and let it absorb me. And this is why so many people have transformative experiences with music when they smoke weed or do psychedelics, because they are forced to kind of sit and chill. They get couch locked, turn on some music with themselves or their friends, and have a good time. And a lot of, and funny enough about cinema and just cinema is that it was supposed to be a theater experience, that seeing a movie with other people is always more mind-blowing than seeing it by yourself. Because here in Tucson, there's somewhere called Loft Cinema that I go to, and they show all these old movies. It's a beautiful movie theater, and they'll show the actual film versions of, 90s movies like Fight Club or Ghost Dog and all different types of movies. And I go there all the time. And seeing movies that I've watched before on my phone or on the TV that I don't have in my house anymore, it's much different watching it with a group of people on the big screen. And an easier example of that is a play. Try to turn on a play on your TV right now, and it's going to be boring to watch. But if you go in person, the experience, being with others, the smell of the theater, the sound, people actually doing it in front of you, that makes it transformative. And so with books, we still have something here. A lot of people, including myself, I get books on the internet, but a lot of the time I go to my local bookstore, Bookman's, and I go get books in person, especially new releases. And that's a process too. It's a ritual to go and get a book and then bring it home and start, you want to read it in the car, and then you start reading, but then it's dinner time, and then you stay up a little bit late and keep reading. That's the priming. That's the immersive experience. And so right now we are making people go through that ritual for no actual payoff. And I didn't even mention, because it's so obvious, that in terms of entertainment, we are never going to win the war. There are only so many Bigfoot erotica stories that we can shove down people's throats. There's only so many space operas that will be read. But Marvel movies, virtual reality, video games, they're just going to continue to get better. And what's also great about the analog nature of books is that video games have the potential to be transformative, and some of them are. But the problem is that they are exploiting your dopamine system the entire time. There are storylines in Red Dead Redemption or some Final Fantasy games I've played, Elden Ring. I could just go on and on about stories, but when I'm done with them, I'm fried. Like if I sit down and I play Red Dead Redemption for 3 or 4 hours, or let's say 6 hours if I'm really locking in, at the same time that would take me to read this, first and foremost, I'm going to get about this much transformation compared to about this much transformation, just because you can read faster and consume more information. But when I'm done with this, my energy level is going to be much more at a homeostasis sattvic level than if I'm just killing a bunch of randos with Arthur. And so it's important to take breaks. It's important to do and watch entertaining things. But we already have enough. Before ChatGPT got invented or released to the public, 2.0 or whatever, there were 4 million books being published on Kindle alone every single year. What's that number now? What's that number going to be in 2030? That's going to be easily tens of millions. It is much easier for AI to write an entertaining story than a transformative story. Right now, and for years to come, it's going to be impossible for it to write something transformative, because that requires a human touch. It requires fallibility and these types of things. But to write something entertaining, to write something that's exploitative, it doesn't require that. Obviously, the best entertaining novels do, but the most entertaining novels, the highest craft works of mystery and romance and that, don't make it to the top of the list ever. And so it's our job as authors to double down and believe in what we are going to do. And so if you want that to be entertainment, that's fine. But if you want to start as an author and have people start reading your works, the literary renaissance is happening on Substack. It is obviously going to happen on Amazon too, where we will sell the books when they come out. But the place where you need to build your audience and get people interested in your reading is Substack, where the best authors in the world are currently putting their writing. I'm going to put 2 links down in the description below. One is a link to my Substack, where I currently have 50,000 people a month read my desert poetry. So think about that. Desert poetry is a very small genre. If you were writing fiction, there's already a massive audience waiting for you over there. I should say, I don't know if 50,000 people read my poems, but they are clicked on 50,000 times. Second, I have a 3-hour guide that I made for free, video guide, on how to get your first readers on Substack. This guide has helped dozens of people get their first hundreds of readers and helped hundreds of people get their first dozen readers. And so I know all of you guys have a backlog of content that you can put on Substack. I know each and every one of you want to be a transformative author. And I also know, if you're watching this video right now, you got some time to kill. And so if you have a backlog of content and you understand the strategy and you want to join the literary renaissance, then there are 2 links down in the description below, if you are not already over there, that I would recommend you go and check out. So thank each and every one of you guys for being here. I am ready to turn up the volume with the videos again. You may not notice, but I'm in a new room right now. I had to move the setup. You may not realize this. I think you know that I shout sometimes when I film. And so my filming setup was right next to my bedroom where my little newborn is sleeping. And so I just kept waking her up. And so now I'm isolated. and ready to start cranking out content for you guys. Thank you guys for being here, and I'll see you very, very soon in the next episode.